Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Edina. I'm Sam Thompson and I'm proud to be your 66th president. We're coming to you live from the Edina Country Club and also on Zoom. We have 39 people that have pre-registered live, and we have 35 that are joining us on Zoom today. Last Thursday, we lost a very good friend and Rotarian, Thom to cancer. He was a member of ours for 27 years. Thom definitely left his mark with our club. He will be deeply missed. When you think of many Rotary projects that we're involved with, you think of certain people that are connected with some of our projects. Think of Dyanne Loberg with the bell ringing, and Renee Harberts with human trafficking, Josh Sprague with the car show, and Michael Stanzak, now Tom Cook, and co-chair Mary Husted with the Thanksgiving baskets. Thom and his family were very active with the Thanksgiving basket program. Matter of fact, they were here in this room putting together the baskets and delivering to the people in need. And when you mention Thom's name, you automatically think of Camp Enterprise and Ethics Day Seminar. These two events are geared towards making our youth better human beings. Camp Enterprise is for high school students. It's a business camp that we've been running with the Morning Club for 40 years. And Ethics Day is also for high school students, teaching ethics to these students to do the right thing. Thom had many gifts. One was public speaking, and he was a past president of the National Speakers Association. He also was a devoted contributing member to the Speakers Roundtable. Thom shared his speaking talents with our club to help improve the lives of the youth that we touched. While speaking at Camp Enterprise, he had many stories that hit home with his audience. He would often share why Godiva chocolates cost more than Hershey chocolates. And it was a message about branding. And he would talk about how you would rarely open the bowl on a Godiva chocolate, but you wouldn't think twice about ripping open a Hershey chocolate bar. And he even brought these Hershey chocolates to Camp Enterprise to give to the students when he was talking. It was very memorable. There are Hershey chocolates at your table, so certainly help yourself. Thom wouldn't have it any other way. For many, when you think of Camp Enterprise and Thom, you think of these Godiva chocolates. And I can see Thom giving his talk in Thom's very entertaining way, the way he would pause while hitting every pitch just right. And who would forget how animated Thom would get with that entertaining facial expression that he'd have and how he would walk up and down the room. Our Camp Enterprise Committee is already having discussions on how we can incorporate Thom's name into Camp Enterprise. We're looking at possibly naming a scholarship after him. Thom also played a large role in financially with our club. This past fall with the gala, Thom and his wife Lynn agreed to be a host. We had Around the World for our gala theme, and we needed hosts. So they decided to have their country be Italy, an evening in Florence. So what we did is we did a little promo for some of the hosts, and I want to show you Thom and Lynn's part. So you can see their energy and humor. It just really is great. So thank you, Thom Winninger, for your many contributions to our club and your love of life. The funeral is next Tuesday, the 23rd. It's at 11 o'clock at Our Lady of Grace Church in Edina. And there actually is a virtual option, too. We have been blessed to have Thom as our member for so many years. Please keep Lynn and the entire Winninger family including fellow Rotarian Stefan Smith, who is the son-in-law, in your thoughts and prayers. Okay, member update. Last week was Valentine's Day, and Joe Arends told us that he spent Valentine's with his 2 grandkids, Olivia, who's 1 year old, and Liam, who is 4 years old. Really cute kids. And congratulations to Susan Johnson, who is our social director, and I know Susan's here today. There she is, right in the middle of the room. She was acknowledged in the Twin Cities Business Magazine for 2021 Notable Women in Commercial Banking. Best in Class Executives. Susan's, yay, congratulations, Susan. Susan is Senior Vice President of Mortgage Warehouse Funding at Fidelity Bank. So way to go, Susan. And breaking news, last week, Henry Aase, son of David Aase, lost a tooth. Henry is 7 years old, and David said the tooth fairy was on the hook for a $2 bill. Much higher than when I was 7. And Rotary in the news, it was just recently announced that the Rotary International theme for next year, when Michael Stanzik is president, is Serve to Change Lives. An incoming president, Shakara Mehta, came up with this theme to urge members to become more involved with Rotary service projects. And District 5950's spring conference is Saturday, May 1st at Central Park in Brooklyn Park. As part of it, they're going to be doing tree planting, so it really sounds great. Birthdays this next week. We have 3 birthdays listed up there, so happy birthday to the 3 of you. And Rotary anniversaries, we have 4 anniversaries this next week. Wayne Harmon and Bob Hildreth, 35 years, so congratulations. And assisting off podium, we have greeters, Skip Thomas, Zoom greeter, Mike Hines. Front desk is Susan Johnson, was helping Becky. Photographer, Mark Jessen. And AV support is Ryan Wilson. And please make sure after lunch, when you're done eating, to put your mask back on for your safety and the safety of other members. At this time, I'd like to call up Dave Hartzug to give us the invocation pledge in the 4-way test.
Thank you, Sam. Bow our heads. Our Father who art in heaven, please be with us today and every day as we live your word. Help us to follow your direction in our lives and be compassionate and sensitive to other people's needs, and to be generous with the gifts that you have blessed each of us with. Help us to give abundantly. Help us to become an even greater power to help others and to do mighty things. We pray this in your name and ask that you bless this food and us to your service. Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The 4-way test. First, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Sam. It's great to see some smiling faces again. It's the first time for me in a long time, so hello. I am here to talk just a little bit about Happy Hour Vocational Development. For most of you, you're familiar with our group, but for a lot of you, or for some of you, we've got new people and they've not heard of Happy Hour Vocational Development. So it was started about, I want to say 5 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, by Kip Peterson. And Kip really felt that we all get together here every week, but we don't really get a chance to share with each other what we do for our careers, our businesses. So that was really his point. His focus was to give us all a chance to have fun. If you noticed, we called it Happy Hour first, and then Vocational Development second. So the goal was really to have fun with our fellow Rotarians as we got to share with each other what our careers were. So it is a joint venture with the Morning Club. We meet every first Wednesday of the month, except for January and July. We skip those two. We're currently just doing it Zoom. It is from 6 to 7. And this week, or this month, next month, March 3rd, Susan Stiles is going to be our presenter. Susan is a member of our club, and she is the owner and founder of the very successful financial firm, Stiles Financial. So please join us. You'll be getting a Zoom, an invite, an email from me with a Zoom invite, as well as Becky, always does the best job in the whole world. And Becky posted in the Barker, as well as it's on our events calendar. So please join us. I know that Susan will be fun and informative. Thanks, you guys.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited today to share with you some news on a new global grant that was approved about 3 or 4 months ago that our club is now executing. This is a maternal and child health project, which is one of Rotary's areas of focus, and it's taking place in partnership with the Rotary Club of Bulawayo in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. Bulawayo, Zimbabwe is the second largest city in Zimbabwe, and these are some of our Rotarian friends in Zimbabwe. That is my friend Unica on the left. She is one of the partners on the grant, and a new Rotarian in the red jacket, and then my friend Catherine in the yellow. And this is in partnership with a local NGO here in St. Louis Park called Matter. Has everybody heard of Matter before? They do some local hunger relief and some big projects here locally in the Twin Cities. But one of the things that they're best known for is their agricultural development in Africa and also their work in hospitals. So one of the largest components of our global grant, which is about $210,000, is to acquire sophisticated maternal and pediatric medical equipment that the hospital is lacking. And we want to provide this to the hospital to improve their outcomes with mother and baby and child health. So the other part of the project is a nutrition garden, and this is the part that I'm most excited about because not only will it help nourish the patients in the hospital, but it's also an educational opportunity. So recently the Rotarians, and actually the CEO of Matter, who is there in the gray t-shirt and the orange neck scarf mask, he's recently residing in Zimbabwe with his family for a period of time, and they planted over 1,000 chaya trees. And the chaya tree is actually native to Mexico and Guatemala. It's an easily grown, it looks like a bush, and the foliage on it is like spinach. And this foliage has very dense nutritional properties. So it's high in calcium, it's high in vitamins A and C. It actually is also rich in protein, and it can be easily incorporated into a lot of the local fare. So you can put it in soups and stews, you can saute it, you can cook it a lot of different ways, and then it's also easily shared. So when the patients are in the hospital and they're introduced to the nutrition garden, not only will they be fed from it, but they will have the opportunity to learn how to develop their own nutrition gardens. And they will receive cuttings from these chaya bushes to start their own. So this is this will be an ongoing project. I hope to be sharing updates with you frequently. And that's all I have to share for now. Does anybody have any questions? Reach out to me at any time. This is something I've been working on for a couple of years, and that our international committee has been very involved with, and I'm super excited about it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you today. Yeah, so it says interim up there, which I'm sitting in for Bridget, who's taking a leave of absence. Bridget Hallstrom, maybe some of you know her. She's our membership chair. And Sam asked me to share a little update on what's happening with membership, and so that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, some statistics you can see up there. We've done very well, I think, during this COVID time in maintaining our membership. We have unfortunately lost a few members to death and to their passing, but we've also gained some new members, and some of them are in the room today. If you're a new member within this time frame since June, would you just take 1 second and stand up? I think there's a few of you in the room. There's 4 of you in the room. Awesome. Okay, so that's great. Thank you so much. 5. Welcome, everybody. And some of you are literally like in their interim. They're going to be official in like 2 weeks. There's a couple, Julie and Marcus or Masan. Marcus or Masan, which one do you go by? Marcus. Okay, there we go. So there's some things. The other thing that I wanted to point out to you is a fun fact. Did you know that as a member of our Rotary Club, that you are automatically on the membership committee? Did you know that? So now your responsibilities are vast and varied, but we do want you to participate. And there's a few ways that you can do that, and I've listed them there on the right-hand side. The next opportunity that's coming up in terms of inviting somebody new into our club, you can do that every week of the calendar. Anytime we meet. Becky told me that when you invite somebody, they get a complimentary meal that first time that they come, and we'd love you to do that. But on April 1st, we have our prospective membership event again coming up, and so please keep that in mind, and let's bring some people in for that. The second thing is I just had those new members stand up. You can help me to welcome them into our club and get them engaged and those kinds of things, as well as when we recognize visitors. And then I also want to just point out that during this COVID time, I think one of the reasons that we've done so well is that we've stayed connected. And sometimes some of us are a little bit more extroverted than others, right? And so we need to reach out and make sure that we're making connections to others in the club as well, and that's a responsibility that we all share. And then I put that little statement at the end. I won't read it to you, but it really is a privilege, and I've only been in this club a short time, a privilege and a responsibility that we have to care for this club, and that means that we need to be refreshing and having new people coming in. We also need to be taking care of each other, and that's my update. Not a lot of stats, just a lot of fun. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Bennerotee. I am a... Thank you, Scott. It's good to see you, buddy. I am not only a proud past president and member of this club, but I work for the City of Edina. And next week, during our meeting time, we will have a very special City of Edina event, our annual State of the Community Address, with speeches by Edina Public Schools Superintendent John Schultz and, of course, our own Mayor Jim Hovland. This event, for several years now, has been co-sponsored by the Rotary Club of Edina, the Rotary Club of Edina Morningside, and our friends at the Edina Chamber of Commerce. In recent years, this event has been held on the day of the Chamber's February General Membership Meeting. This year, we have the privilege of having it as our meeting. So the meeting will be here next Thursday. However, if you're looking at the screen, there's one really big difference. This year's event will, instead of being at our meeting time, will be at the Chamber's usual meeting time of 11:30 in the morning to 1 p.m. So don't show up at 12:30 or you'll certainly be in the middle of Jim's speech. Show up early. I think the doors will open at 11:15. All of the same protocols we've been following will apply. You'll come immediately to your seats that day. We have many options for you to participate. You can participate from Zoom, you can come to the meeting, or of course you can watch the presentation on Edina TV or our website after. Because we've got a lot of groups participating in this event, it's really important you register for your first choice as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're ready for our program. Just a couple of quick announcements before we get into it. Reminder, virtual fireside chats are going on right now. We had our first one this week. They are smaller groups, and they go until April 26th, so you can go to our website to sign up. And Interact, which is our high school Rotary Club. They are here in the back, Julianne and Addie both, and they are selling tickets for the Skate to End Polio event on February 26th at Braemar Arena's backyard. So please sign up for it, buy tickets. You can go to our website for more information or Venmo at Interact Skate to End Polio. Okay, I would like to now introduce Mike Kallas, who will be introducing our speaker. Mike has been practicing law since 1984 in the areas of real estate law, business law, and estate planning. Mike has a Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology from St. John's University and a Juris Doctor degree from William Mitchell College of Law. Sponsored by John Barnett, Mike joined Rotary in 2009. Since joining, Mike has co-chaired the annual gala, served on our board of directors, served on our foundation board, and served as chairperson of our local grants committee. Mike and his wife Julene are major donors to the Rotary Foundation, and Mike currently serves as a member of the local grants committee and legal counsel for District 5950. Mike and Julene live in Eden Prairie and have 3 married children and 5 grandchildren. In his spare time, Mike loves to read, travel, and officiate high school football. I love it. Please welcome up Mike.
Thank you very much, Sam. Just a quick shout out to the Wininger family. I think that was a great loss for our club to lose Thom, and he was just a terrific member of our community. Be sorely missed. It's my honor today to introduce to you Dyanne Ross-Hanson. Dyanne is the founding principal of Exit Planning Strategies, LLC, is a company offering experienced, unbiased financial guidance in developing an exit plan for business owners. Today, Dyanne is going to talk with us about key employee incentive retention plans. We're going to hear about industry trends concerning those plans, types of incentive plans that are available, must-have design elements that should be included in that plan, and how the key employee incentive retention plans integrate with the idea of an exit strategy for a business owner. Dyanne and her husband of 40-plus years are parents of 3 successfully launched, economically independent, and relatively stable children. They consider that an accomplished family exit plan. Dyanne and her husband enjoy nature and have made a goal to visit all of our national parks. During the winter months, they spend time visiting one of their children out in Colorado and skiing out there. And during the summertime, they enjoy all the gifts that Minnesota has to offer. I'd like to invite you to give a warm Rotary welcome to Dyanne Ross-Hanson.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate that. You know, when you talk about relatively stable as a parent, I'm sure we can all agree. Even though there hasn't been an intentional diagnosis, we have to question sometimes, right? What a pleasure to be here with you as a group, first of all. I so admire the work that the club does. I did share, as I'm sure you've had with a number of your speakers, there were a number of odd occurrences on my way here. First of all, business cards, right? I had to dust off my business cards. Who's sharing them in any type of an environment? Again, you maybe, I'm not. GPS. I haven't used my GPS since probably April, going someplace that, you know, you're not accustomed to. And you know, the least of which to say is a full body attire rather than waist up, right? My biggest challenge today, 2 things. First of all, to get through this information in the brief period we have, and second, to stand still at this podium. But I've got strict instructions that that's required for all of those joining us on Zoom. I'd like to begin today and say some of you, and in fact Mike included, says, well, what in the world does key employee incentive and retention plan have to do with exit planning? Well, for those of you who are owners, or those of you that have worked with owners, we all know that owners go into business not only because they like what they're doing, but they're also trying to grow value. They're trying to grow something that's going to be transferable beyond themselves, and hopefully at some point enjoy the fruits of their labor with financial independence. So when we talk about growing value in a company, I'm actually going to jump ahead. We all know these value drivers. There are many. Focus on pre-tax earnings, operating systems, audited financials, updated facilities, pay down debt, incremental growth, diversified, solid customer base. I'm here today to suggest that, in my experience, one of the most important value drivers for any owner to consider is to build, incentivize, retain key people. I'm going to go back for a moment, and I'm going to bring us to an example of Stan. Stan is a business owner. He started a manufacturing company with a partner 25 years ago. 5 years into their partnership, they chose to separate ways because of the difference in opinions in the direction of the company. Not long after that, he hired a general manager, Nate. Nate came into the business. He learned the business very fast. He dug into some of the financials. He took it upon himself to meet and establish relationship with the company's customers, their vendors, their bankers, their advisors. Nate became an integral piece to the manufacturing company, and in fact allowed Stan to then sit back, pull back, and enjoy a little bit more free time than what he was used to. One day, a couple of years ago in January, Nate came into Stan's office, sat down, said, "Stan, I have to have a very serious conversation. One I've been avoiding, and one that I've been dreading for quite some time. I haven't slept in 3 days. I have had an unbelievable offer made by our competitor, ABC Manufacturing, and after much thought, for the benefit of myself and the benefit of our family, I've decided and in fact accepted that offer, and I'll be leaving the firm in 2 weeks." So of course Stan is there, and after he picks up his lower jaw, what do you think he's going through his mind? Nate was in fact someone that he was eventually thinking about possibly moving into ownership, but hadn't done anything. You know, again, his thoughts were, wow, no idea, had no idea that was coming down the pike. You know, I thought we were working as a team together. Why do I find myself here? Why didn't I do something beforehand? And most owners think about that, the more valuable their key people become. But what Stan, like many owners, think about is, you know, I feel as though, and I felt as though I was paying Nate a competitive salary. I gave him a lot of flexibility when his family needed it or when he needed it. You know, to try to spend more money, I'm not sure if I can. Statistics show that up to 40 to 80% of a company's gross revenues are currently being spent on salaries, benefits, etc. And the thought of offering or adding additional benefits on top of that 40 to 80% is very difficult for many owners. And yet, the last statistic, if you see it there, costs can be as high as 400% of base salary for those key performers that you have to identify, hire, train, recruit. So developing the right kind of plan that ideally, if properly designed, is going to pay for itself becomes a critical piece for most business owners. And what are some of those variables? We'll talk about that. First of all, you'll say, well, what exactly are key performers looking for? You all may have opinion. When you think about it, key performers today who are responsible for maintaining profit, increasing profit, first and foremost, are looking for some acknowledgement that you understand, you appreciate their efforts, and you recognize the efforts that they're bringing to enhance value within your organization. And oh, if they had one more thing that's important, one more thing that's important for them. Now that you know my entire presentation. There, cash. That's supposed to bounce. It's supposed to be very heavy. Key employees are basically looking to try to align and have a variable portion of their compensation align with shareholders' pay, because they feel as though once shareholders get a competitive rate of return on their investment, they want to share in the value that they know that they're helping to create. That is probably the most important. And of course, there's many things that enter into a pleasant work environment. Foosball tables, cafeteria, all that type of thing. I know those are important. I know those are retentive. But when it comes down to the bottom line, most of your key performers are going to be looking for what we call a wealth multiplier effect. They're saying, we're here, we're giving 110%, we want to share in the value that we're helping to create. So what design variables become necessary? The first and foremost is that the award has to be tied to the attainment of some type of financial benchmark. It can be as simple as you care. It should be simple. Something like an increase in profitability, net profit. Revenues, we all know, are valuable to track, but what really counts is what hits the bottom line. So your variables are tie them to a performance standard that, when achieved, will elicit an award for your key person. Without a benchmark and without communicating it, unfortunately, many incentive plans turn into an entitlement mentality. If you've got performers that are used to getting a bonus, whether or not the company has a good year or not, they get accustomed to a bonus, whether the company is doing well or not. There are some employees within the organization that feel they deserve a bonus, that they're tenured, they, again, deserve it. An ownership mentality with the right design on the plan, the key employee or performer is going to get it. There's going to be clarity. They're going to say, I understand. I benefit when the company benefits, and I'm a part of reaching the company's objectives. And when the company does well, I do well. That's the key in designing an incentive-based plan, is to turn an entitlement mentality into an ownership mentality. The benefit has to be substantial. Today's marketplace, key incentive-based compensation, at least 25% of salary. Below that, it's an occasional bonus type of thing. It's not going to motivate and change behavior. 25% minimum. Other than having a lack of a benchmark to determine when an award is made, the second most common mistake is it's 100% cash output. Some percentage of this incentive benefit has to be deferred until a future point. That is the retention piece that every good plan should have. When owners develop a plan tied to a standard or tied to a benchmark, but give it outright, it's going to provide not the incentive, but the ability for an employee like Nate to look more at the offer than what they're walking away from. So there has to be deferral of the benefit. If you're paying market salary, that shouldn't be an issue. The fourth and last one is the benefits, how it works, what they can expect is something that absolutely needs to be communicated. So those are the 4 design variables. There's an article I know that at some point we may get out afterwards that has these and it's spelled out. I would certainly invite you to take a look at that. 2 basic types of incentive plans: cash-based and stock-based. Oh gosh, I could tell you stories about the problems of stock-based, but we don't have time, and I've got many of them. One quick example, a gentleman started a remodeling type of a business and hired not a general manager, but an office manager, and gave this woman 10% ownership in the company as they were starting out. The company grew, the office manager left 2 years into it. Eventually the company grew, the gentleman's son took over. He likewise grew it. He had an offer from a private equity firm to buy. They were all ready to go. They realized that there was 10% ownership in the company outside. They went back to Anna, the office manager, say, hey, we got to clean this up. They said, well, she's like, well, okay, I understand, I'm willing to, but here's my price. Well, they ended up paying her like more than her salary for 3 years. So giving stock, actual equity in the company, even under an award system, prematurely to the wrong person for the wrong reason, makes our litigation attorneys wealthy. I'm not saying that against the attorneys, but I'm saying minority owners in a privately held company are I shouldn't say that, but I was going to say a disaster. Not unless it's done for the right reason. Both cash and stock are effective in motivating and retaining key talent. Here's some examples. Phantom stock, deferred compensation, again, at another date, delving into all of these, the advantages, disadvantages, the planning characteristics are something for every owner to probably learn more about. But cash-based, stock-based, I will say in my experience, 90% of key employee incentive and retention plans are cash-based because of, again, some of those issues on granting stock. Usually, and there again, I'm thinking of an owner who was trying to recruit a key person. Key person says, I'm interested in coming, but I want partial ownership. Okay, again, felt a pressure to do that, but the reality is you don't know what that key employee, what their sentiment is going to be. Are they going to fit in with the culture? Are they going to carry the same values and missions that you do? Do they see the future of the company the same way? Not until all four of these issues are probably addressed or present would I ever advise a business owner to consider a stock-based plan, minimum of 2-year tenure. They're motivated by cash. If you ask a key employee, do you really want your award in minority ownership in this company? Or would you rather have cash? 90% are going to say, I'll take the cash, thank you very much, even if it is deferred. Because minority interest in a company is not valued as highly as one might think. No decision-making ability, no liquidity offering. So again, just careful about whether or not your incentive-based pay is in the form of equity or cash. A word about tax implications, very simply. Most of the plans that we see designed, until they are paid out to the key performer, there is no immediate taxation to the key performer. On the flip side of that, nor is there any immediate tax benefit to the employer in paying out a benefit until they do. Now, flip that to a qualified retirement plan, where again, no taxation on the participants, but definite deductibility on the part of the company. Problem is that qualified retirement plan limits actually discriminate against your higher paid employees. And that's why these incentive and retention plans are so critical in filling in some of that gap that both Social Security and qualified retirement plans are going to offer your key executives. So when we talk about planning characteristics, there are a number of them. I'm either going to get 1 or 8 that are going to come out in a total. They can be completely selective. There's no ERISA, there's no IRS approval, other than a 409A regulation that came about because of Enron's bad playing in the sandbox. Before they went down, they went and distributed millions in deferred compensation to some of their key executives. So now the IRS says, okay, you can be selective, you can put in whatever you care, but you can't accelerate distributions other than under certain circumstances. But you know, oftentimes when I'm talking to owners about these incentive and retention plans, the question comes up, is this legal? Yeah, it's legal. You get to design the plan however you care to. Some of the planning issues are going to be, again, how long is the vesting schedule? It can be cliff vesting, it can be gradual, it can be anything you want. Minimal reporting, other than a letter to the Department of Labor that says that the plan exists. There is no minimum or maximum contribution to these plans. That is up to you as an owner. Informal funding, that's a whole other subject, which we certainly do advise owners to look at. Forfeiture provisions. If your key executive should leave and take with them customers, trade secrets, if they violate a non-compete agreement, basically they relinquish any of that deferred benefit. So we're trying to dissuade them, again, not handcuff them, so to speak, but certainly dissuade them. Payment schedule, often the payout once they receive 100% vesting is not in a lump sum, but rather over a number of years. 2 to 3 years is usually common. Other considerations, a lot of times an owner will have a key executive that shows themselves, develops within the company, and for whatever reason never had them implement a non-compete agreement. Now, for example, in Nate's situation, had a non-compete been there, that could have prevented him from going to the competitor. But at the time that you present a non-compete after employment, typically you have to provide some sort of consideration. Participation in a selective plan may in fact, and we'll let our attorney friends answer this, may in fact qualify as consideration. So that's one thing, value share mindset. Really what this, and we'll summarize it, internal transition. The deferred bucket that builds for your key executive often is used to partially fund a stock buy-in when the owner is ready to sell or to take on a minority owner. We've all heard it, internal transitions. The problem is that your buyers never come to the table with any money, right? So this is a way with that deferred dollar or deferred accumulation to pre-fund a partial buy-in. It's done all the time. Not 100% financing, but some percentage, and this is how it is financed. Third-party sale is the same thing. The more your company operates on your key employees' performance, the more value your company has in the outside market. For owners, your one job as an owner should be to work your way into employment insignificance. Because the more significant the owner is to the company, the less value it has to the next owner. Long-term key employee incentive plans. The new paradigm is one that it's not incentivize, it's not handcuff, it's rather incentivize. Long-term incentive plans, I call them the 3 C's. They're meant to create a common financial vision for growing the company's value, first of all, when properly developed and designed. Second thing is they are able to communicate the outcome and the results that are most important to the owner and to the organization. They also create a mechanism to allow owners to be able to add flexibility in building compensation packages for their key talent. And lastly, if again properly developed, the main benefit, and again this may sound a bit selfish, but the reason they're meant to build enterprise value for the benefit of owners and also for the benefit of the key talent. So I think I got 1 minute to spare if my iPhone is correct. I would welcome any particular questions. Otherwise, 5 minutes. Any particular questions? Yes, sir. You are it.
Me? That's me. Okay. Quick question about customarily, we hear that people that are getting an annual pay raise, it might be 2.5% to 3%. And I know this is on a lower scale of what you're talking about today, but as somebody gets more highly compensated, it gets harder and harder to pay 3%, and yet you feel like you have to because you've always historically done it. And my understanding is, and I just wanted to get your take on it, after a certain point in time where you say your 3% is not reasonable, it's going to be 2.5% or 2%. What is your thought about that, or do you have to continue to go 3% no matter how highly compensated they are?
A good question. The question is whether or not the employer has to potentially continue with an inflationary increase in salary, particularly for key people, especially as their income continues to increase. The question was, is that something that you feel that the owner needs to do? In my opinion, a lot of it has to do with the key performer. If they've got long-term vision, and if they've got a wealth share, they've developed a wealth share mentality, they have the opportunity, these future benefits, projected benefits, become substantial beyond, again, a rate of return for the shareholders. They're being compensated not outright, but in the form of a deferred benefit with significant dollar amounts. I'm doing a spreadsheet right now for a client who wants to try to engage and build ownership mentality, and after 5 years, their key executive has a $1.2 million in deferred benefits. So is that 2.5% or 3% annual salary adjustment necessary? Boy, in my opinion, I would say if you've got the right talent, that's not going to be very significant in relation to the potential benefit of the selected benefits. Good question, though. Thank you. Yes, I'm going to go right there. Yep. You get to take your mask off. Gosh, we can finally breathe. And who needs to put lipstick on, right?
Thank you for your presentation today. My question is about ownership.
Yep.
My husband owns a company, and he thinks he's working really hard to recruit specialized talent. I think he could work a little harder.
Of course.
Well, nobody can do it as well as he can. And so he said, I think as we're looking toward our retirement planning, that I just need to find the next owner.
Yes, absolutely.
And bring them in right now with an ownership status. And I'm like, well, what happens? We're not retiring for at least 15 years. What happens if you don't like this guy and you bring him in? I've been arguing he should compensate really well, and then once you're comfortable with the arrangement, then offer him ownership opportunity. I don't really get a say in this, but I'm just kind of curious what you think.
Sure. And for those of you on Zoom, the question was, at some point where the owner is looking to retire, even though it's maybe 10 or 15 years down the road, at what point does an owner try to recruit and really incentivize a potential key performer? Is that the question? First of all, for internal transitions, which is what you're describing, in my experience, you've got to have a runway of anywhere from 5 to 10 years because of that lack of capital. That key person that your husband would bring in to train and mentor is going to have to come up with some dollars to be able to buy a partial income. They're not bankable usually because they don't have any ownership. So building an incentive plan, again, with that deferred bucket, you don't have to defer 100% of the annual award, but let's say 75% is deferred. Over 5 years, again, that amount can really build up. Now, the other thing that always remains with these plans, and in your instance, the owner is able to say, you know what, I don't think this person is quite who I thought it was, and no, I'm going to choose not to allow them to use the cash to buy stock. I still owe them money because I told them I would, but I don't have to allow them to buy stock. Still leaving the option open for an outside sale, another internal buyout, whatever the case may be. Great question and very common, very common. 5 to 10 year runway is my recommendation. Do we have time for another? Yes. Or no?
Yeah, do one more.
One more. We got one more then. Susan, sorry.
You talked about this deferred bucket can
Yes.
get to be pretty big. How is, from the standpoint of the employee who's getting the deferred, how is that funded so that I know that when it comes time to collect on
Big
it,
issue.
it's going to be there?
Big issue. The question for those of you at home, we're saying this future benefit that we're projecting, which you've said it could amount to a large amount of money. How do I know it's going to be there? Great question. And that is the one caveat of these plans, is that key executive has to have faith and confidence that what you're telling them you're going to have. Yes, you've got a legal document behind it, but that pre-funding is not a requirement on the part of the IRS or anybody else. And in fact, I run into businesses, not often, but occasionally say, I've got this phantom stock payout that I've got to make for my 3 people that are over $2 million and I don't have it set aside. If I had been advising that owner, I would say that's part of the design. The owner sets those dollars aside. They're carried as a current asset to the business. They do not have the key employee's name on it. Otherwise, we've got constructive receipt and we've got taxable income. But we absolutely pre-fund, and in many cases, the after-tax amount, because it's going to be a deductible expense to the business owner, absolutely an investment of choice based on the time horizon and the risk tolerance. Great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Dyanne. As a business owner, I'd like to say you're right, absolutely right. You're only as good as your employees. And as a tax accountant, I really appreciate the extra portion of tax knowledge, and I'm sure everybody here did. So from literacy and peace to water and health, Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million problem solvers who unite to take action and create lasting change to better our world. In honor of your presentation, we would like to make a donation to Every Meal, formerly known as Sheridan Story, an organization focused on providing weekend and other food gap programs to over 10,000 children in the Twin Cities metropolitan area. Thank you, Dyanne.
Very good, Dyanne. And the article she's talking about, we will have in the Barker and on the website when we put it out on YouTube. So look for that. Okay, looking ahead, as mentioned, virtual fireside chats started this week, going to April. And the Interact Skate and Polio is February 26th. You can still get tickets in the back. And Vocational Happy Hour is March 3rd. I want to thank all of you for being here live and also on Zoom. And thank you, Dyanne, once again. I want to leave you with a quote. To win in the marketplace, you must first win in the workplace. Doug Conant. With that, meeting adjourned.